Hi, this is the Emotional Scientist podcast. I'm Love Gupta.
And I'm Akal.
We're just gonna talk about random ideas that are under this tree of knowledge. Yeah. Okay. How close can AI be to humans?
That's a good one. Do you want to go first or should I?
Yeah, I can go first. I think AI is. I think we first need to define what it is to be a human. In sort of the framework, what it means to be a computer.
Correct.
So when I think of a human, primarily of the brain, it's just some sort of tissue where you have electricity and you can have connections. So basically neurons, and you somehow store information. You have paths that can communicate to each other, and that leads to certain behaviors. Is in some aspect, it's like running an algorithm, right? And I think there isn't like a distinction between a human and a computer in like the pure scientific way. I think there is no you can as a computer be a human. There is no fundamental limit for it not to happen. It is a difficult task. Firstly, because we don't know what a human is or how a human works to the absolute limit, and it is a difficult task to put that in a computer, which is just an artificial source of electricity.
I think inherently what you're saying is, since we don't understand ourselves completely, how can we program a computer to do the same task? And I think there's also an inherent difference between humans and computers. I don't know if we could classify this as a limitation of humans or a limitation of computers, but basically when humans make memories, they're very inexact. If you remember something, I think there are studies on this, you don't exactly remember any situation completely. Mm-hmm. It's always an approximation, right? Now compare that to a computer. Whenever a computer stores something, it's like ones and zeros. It's exactly what is stored there. I think that is one inherent difference. Another one, so if you would interpret this to be a limitation of humans, that they can't exactly store memories versus computers, I think what that enables in humans is that because memories are inexact, they can build up to form something new, whereas computers can just use exactly what was used, or what was stored rather. So
I wonder where this comes up from, why computers are precise, but why humans aren't precise in that way.
I think the idea behind computers has evolved a lot. Initially, when computers, so before computers were as we know them, our smartphones or our laptops, computers were actually names for women who would sit in rooms and
or men.
Women.
Oh, okay.
Specifically women.
Okay.
And mostly black women actually, who would actually sit in rooms and do extreme computations like the ones who sent to NASA.
Yeah, that's actually kind of surprising because Richard Feynman, while was the Manhattan Project, so he was called on the scene to I think to manage this set of calculators, which at that point wasn't just women, it was probably both. So yeah, a calculator was just a human doing algorithms. Yeah,
exactly. And then I think Alan Turing, he started the computer era, but at that point the goal of computers was to do calculations, difficult calculations that humans couldn't. For humans, it's very difficult to multiply two 74-digit numbers. That's because I think one of the main reasons for that could also be because we can't even store 74-digit numbers and just remember them off the top of our heads.
I think what we're talking about is the differences between a human and a computer.
Yeah.
And one of them is of course short-term memory, or the ability to calculate or hold long ideas, but there's something distinctly different between being a computer and being a human. We as humans can take sensory input, and I would argue computers can do as well. You have the light.
Microphones.
Yeah. You collect input from the environment and you like process it in some way, and then you have some sort of, it's like a function. You deliver an output. But the human is.
I think it's very easy to define the processing that a computer does. With enough paper, you could probably write it out. You could make the circuit and you could follow.
That's probably because you made it.
Yeah.
If you were just given this device and you had no means initially to describe it, like how would you? Is it virtually impossible?
I would actually disagree with that, because anything a computer can do, a circuit can do by definition, because a computer is a circuit, right? And so you could still reverse engineer a circuit to do the exact same thing, to accomplish the exact same task, but you can't do that with a human brain. At least that might be because of our lack of information on the human brain. But I would argue it's also possible that even by understanding the entire human brain, we might not be able to do that reverse engineering. Because we don't know. I don't want to bring the topic of consciousness into this, because that's an entire topic on its own. But there are things that might not even be so evidently tangible that we don't know about yet with respect to the human brain. And just by figuring out how every neuron is interacting, even that might not be enough to replicate what the human brain is doing.
Well, let's say it is, because I genuinely believe it should be. I don't know, that's just my perspective. I don't believe in like a soul. I would like to think that everything that is inside your brain is responsible for your behavior, everything.
Another thing though, I will agree with that. Even I am of the same opinion about everything being within you and nothing being soul-like. But another thing is, the human brain is a result of so much evolution, so much external influence, that you couldn't possibly account for all of it, right? It would be completely, almost impossible, I would say, to account for every single external influence that has made its impact on a human mind, and for you to be able to actually map that or model that. Whereas a computer is very contained, right? If a computer is doing something and I want another computer to do it, I can reverse engineer a circuit because I know that that circuit will accomplish that task. There is nothing that has influenced the circuit from outside that I could not possibly predict.
What would you say makes humans distinctly different from computers?
I think it has to do with building your own things versus building on what's already, building new thoughts versus just using prior thoughts. And in this case, thoughts with respect to computers is just what is stored on the disk of a computer. It can just use that information. It can't create new information. And if it does, that new information is not created by the computer. It is created by someone who programmed the computer.
But so, for example, like say a computer have like one set of data, and then it has another set of data, right? And you have an algorithm, and then the computer mixes them two together to create a third. Is that like the computer making it, or is that?
I would argue it's not, because the computer is executing instructions that are given by me, right? It is just, it is not making things independent of external influence, or not completely independent of external influence. It's exactly what I am telling the computer to do.
Well, this is kind of like interesting. I'll just bring it up right now. It's DALL-E 2.
Yeah.
The computer program that like you write any sentence, any string of words, and it just makes that photo for you. So for example, I will write a picture of New York City drawn by Leonardo da Vinci, right? And the computer makes that. DALL-E 2 would make that. So did the computer, who is responsible for that art? Is it Leonardo da Vinci, or is it the computer who is responsible for that art? Who do you credit making that art to?
I think the computer. If I see Leonardo da Vinci's work and I'm inspired by his technique and I paint something similar, why would that be credited to him?
But this line of thinking is kind of like false, because Leonardo da Vinci himself would be influenced by someone else, and then they would, you have a chain. You can keep going back to, in principle, the first.
No, but it's who actually did the work, right? Even if I copy exactly what was the Mona Lisa, every inch of paint is exactly the same as Mona Lisa, but I have painted it, then that is not credit. Okay, for example, painting is a very abstract thing. Let's say I copy paste a story written by someone else, right? And I paste it onto my Word document. That particular Word document will still be mine.
You know, this is kind of like interesting because the example of machine learning is a way of how computer takes some set of data and then finds new connections, or is what creativity would be in a computer. And I think, you know, that might be how, you know, humans work. You probably have some set of networks in your brain and you weight them a certain way, and then you combine previous knowledge to like come up with a new way of thinking.
So do you think, like, if in an ideal world with infinite amount of computation, with infinite resources, with whatever the hell you want, do you think it would be possible to think to, for any given task, to come up with a function that would output the exact same thing as the human brain would output? Was that clear?
Yeah. You know, from like a physics point of view, I would have to disagree because, you know, this uncertainty at like the most fundamental level. So if I were to replicate a human brain completely, that would mean to map every single neuron, every single, you know, it's basic, like what makes a human brain, to complete precision. And I don't think you can, because
even with infinite resources.
Yeah, because again, you can't measure everything to like you know, infinite precision. So you just you measuring someone's brain would change it, and then you know.
That's actually very interesting, because that brings up another very fascinating difference between what, at least with today's knowledge, would be theoretically possible with a computer versus what the human brain is. Because the best model we have right now that can most closely resemble the human brain is a neural network. There are other machine learning techniques and models that work better than neural networks in certain situations. But the closest thing that can resemble the human brain, or something that can almost universally work amazingly on all domains given enough data, is a neural network. A neural network is what is known as a universal function approximator, which means given any function, you can approximate that function with enough units in a neural network.
Yeah.
The entire idea behind machine learning is that you're trying to build you assume that there is an existing function,
the true function,
the true value, and you assume that you've collected the data with some noise, and you're trying to predict what function that could possibly be the true function. And so by definition, when we're training a neural network, we're trying to get close to a function that we think already exists. And if the hypothesis is that the brain can't be completely captured by a function, then machine learning can always only approximate the brain, never really resemble it. Maybe it can do things that the brain never could. Maybe it could be way more capable. But the question is whether it can be human-like.
You know, it could be human-like, but it won't be human-like as we are. You know, it can't replicate. Is the issue of replication. You can't replicate an existing human, but it probably could exceed a human, or you know. But yeah, that's kind of, you know, what makes you special as like a human, that you can't be replicated, and the issue arises from this measuring, you know.
I think another interesting thing.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, I think another interesting thing we can talk about is, okay, one thing is whether or not it can actually resemble a human, which I think we both agree that it can't like for like resemble a human. It may be better at things, it may be worse at things, but it can't resemble. Are we in agreement on that? But I think another cool question we could explore is whether it should, whether we should strive for that, or is that not?
I mean, you know, there are always advantages for having. So like, imagine you have a computer, you just send it to like Mars, you know, does the work, and like you kind of bypass some of the ethical requirements of actually sending a human, even though the question of still like, is a computer a human?
But I mean, should we strive to make a computer like a human, or should we strive for something else?
I think naturally we would end up like because of our influences as a human would make something. It's like the god. Why are gods all white and male? I mean, not in Hinduism. It's actually kind of, they're like elephants and yeah, but yeah, you are influenced by like the way you think, and you maybe would make a computer program that is human-like in some aspect. Yeah.
So that would be an answer for the question of, will we make AI that is human-like? I am asking, should we? Should that be the goal?
I think that would be fun. I don't think it'll lead to like the iRobot. Like, first of all, it'll be like tremendously difficult to do so. That is, if we can't do it. Maybe in our lifetime we may be able to see something that is like good enough as a human is in some limited aspect, but not completely the human, which I think is the case right now as well. Some AI programs can do calculations that the human can't, and they've already bypassed this, like chess and like Go and stuff. But I think you should make an AI program as close as to a human, just because for me it's like a landmark of like the human capability of doing so. An aspect is like you've gathered so much power that you can just you can copy and create what you are, which is kind of extraordinary.
So if in that pursuit, firstly, humans have some inherent limitations. One of the ones we mentioned at the beginning was obviously the memory thing,
yeah.
Right? That humans have inexact memories. What could be the reason to? Because if you want to make a computer human-like, we'll probably have to forego that. I think a lot of what makes humans is that you can't store exact memories, since your memories influence a lot about you. So you would inherently have to limit your computer in order to make it more like a human.
Yeah, you would. And I don't know exactly why humans are so terrible at holding memories. Nah, we still have time.
Yeah, I think it could. It's a difficult one. I think. See, if you have something stored exactly, the best you can do is output something that is exactly that. You can maybe double it or triple it, but whatever I give you from something that I have exact, you can always recover it back. If I multiply it 2 times, you can divide it by 2, right? Unless I completely erase it. Whatever I do with an exact set of memory is usually invertible. I think that is what makes innovation so difficult to model in a computer, because humans by definition have inexact memories. And so if I just, when I come up with something new, you can't recover the old thing like for like, because it wasn't exactly that in the first place.
No, I think I should before having this conversation, I wish I had like read this topic, but it's something in quantum mechanics is the no copying like theorem, and I have no idea what that is, but I've seen it, and I think what it might be is like you can't copy a system like to like because of like measurement itself.
Okay. Do you need to copy down to that precision though?
But no, everything is quantum mechanical. And to have the truest nature to like make a computer as a human, or you would have to measure the human to complete precision. And then actually no, not necessarily.
Okay,
you don't have to.
I think I didn't explain myself very well there. I think what I'm trying to say is, if I have something stored in memory exactly how it was.
Yeah.
And this question doesn't have an exact answer, it's more of a open-ended question. Can I ever make something entirely new?
If your memory is stored exactly.
Yeah. Because anything I make will be a permutation of that original thing.
Yeah.
Versus, I think innovation comes from the fact that our memories are inexact.
No, it's also the fact that, humans have something stored in their head, and assume it's like perfectly that thing, but then you get sensory input in, and then you mix your memory with the sensory input. So you continuously like accessing it, and you're continuously trying to like access it. And when you access it, it's like you're in essence copying it. And every time you copy it, you lose out on some information. So,
don't you think though that is what makes new, genuinely original thoughts? Because anything you store in your mind is not exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Versus a computer maybe takes 2 times this and 3 times that and 5 times that, but all of that is exact.
That's true, because like a computer is transistors.
Yeah.
Electricity is going through. A brain is neurons with synapses and dendrites or whatever.
And those can form arbitrarily versus the layout of transistors is fixed.
Yeah, exactly. And for example, if I have a thought and the set of networks in my brain, like they fire up in a specific manner, right? But that specific manner is not the same as how it would be in a computer.
Yeah.
The computer is like exactly the same transistors,
Yeah.
maybe exactly the same place, but your brain could just be those 6 neurons versus the 7 in the other scenario. And there's something very inaccurate about the human brain.
Yeah, I think that's a very cool note to end this topic on.
Yeah.
The fact that the main deficiency of the human brain compared to computers, which in fact was the thing that provoked the need for computers in the first place, the inexactness of human brain, maybe the very thing that gives it its originality and innovation.
Yeah, I agree.
This is a light episode. You want to explain what this part of the episode is?
So we're just going to talk about who's going to win the championship and probably who is the best driver. I genuinely think Red Bull is going to win both of the championships because Ferrari is ass on so many levels. Firstly, because I don't know who's part of the strategy, but they just don't make the right calls. And I think it's just because like the culture they have, in that like the team, it's just like
what culture do they have? I only got into Formula One very recently, so what is it about Ferrari? I've heard the memes that their strategy calls are ass and stuff, but what is it about them?
Honestly, I think it might just be because half their team that's like doing aero is probably English, and the other half is just like Italian in the garage. I think that honestly might be it, bro. I think it's like a language barrier.
Like Red Bull and Mercedes have been pretty spot on in terms of strategy.
Yeah.
Like if you saw the battle last season, but Red Bull is gonna win both championships. Who do you think between Checo and Max? Because Checo is really turning it up.
Yeah.
And in Monaco he owned Max, dude.
I think Max is by far the best driver.
I agree, but what happened in Monaco?
Bro, Monaco is okay. First of all, yeah, that's true. I think he just didn't get the balance, and that's fine. Like you have one like race where you just like you're not on it, and I honestly think if he put that quali lap in, he would have qualified like second or third, and then your luck is so much different if you qualify better in Monaco.
Yeah, but the entire weekend he was behind Checo. I think like if Checo had made his final lap work, then probably Checo would still have been higher.
But no, that's like come on. A teammate, he was behind Checo by like 2/10 in like 3 practice sessions, and you set such a high standard for him that he's like he's easily just like thrashed everyone. It's like it's like Russell and Latifi, bro. Like Russell was out qualifying this guy by like seconds, bro. Like
okay, even in Spain though, Max was given the better strategy option.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's a bit. But no, I genuinely think Perez was slower on that track. His race pace was slower, and instead of like them like fighting it on the track, which would have been fun, because I don't think Perez would have like let him through.
Yeah.
Because overtaking and defending in an equal car in a track like Spain is impossible. But the team was just like, bro, this guy is faster than you, and like.
But he was only faster because he was given the better strategy.
Yeah, I guess yeah.
I don't know. I'm a Max fan through and through. I think that dude is rapid, but I don't know what's gone into Checo's head.
No, bro, this is one race, and like Checo isn't that bad. Like if you're like 2/10 within your teammate, then it's like luck as well, on some aspects.
I think equal cars, Max again wins against anybody right now.
I think equal if the whole grid had equal cars, I would say Russell.
Over Max?
Easily, yeah.
Over Max?
Yeah.
Oh, why? No.
Russell is too hungry, bro.
Dude, okay, fine. What about Max from last season in equal cars?
Yeah.
Max.
He was good, yeah. I think his first championship, like, he was so on it.
Here's what I'm saying though. I think Verstappen is doing better right now than he was in last season. Here's why. He has gained so much information, wisdom more than anything. Russell is hungry right now because all he can do is make lunges in that car. It's a pretty trash car. Dude, Max knows he can play the long game. He doesn't have to win every race in order to win the championship. But let's say, I still think if it's like the last race, Max is going to be the Max you saw last season. So that you got to compare like to like. Russell's hunger is out of the fact that he is nowhere right now and he has no stake in the long game. He needs to maximize his points every single race. Max can settle for second in some races, and you saw that in Spain, right? Because like when in Spain, Max had got a better start than Leclerc, and he was almost side by side. But against last season against Hamilton, he would have gone for it.
Yeah, I think it pays like dividends on Max being aggressive. I think like being a racing driver, the best strategy is to be aggressive. Especially when it's like a 1-to-1 fight with Hamilton. Like you just go for it because worst case scenario they both retire, right? And best case scenario Max overtakes. But like being very timid or like isn't the best thing because psychologically it plays on you. You're either like speed and you're like, yeah, fuck it, I'm just gonna go for it.
I don't think it's about being timid. I think it's about saying, okay, either I crash into him right now and I don't know, get a grid penalty for the next race and I don't get any points this race, versus I can play it strategically. This is not my track. This is not Red Bull's track. There will be more Red Bull tracks. There is no need. I should just get the most points I can.
Yeah.
And if the logic cannot be that we both retire because one person may get severe penalties, and if he got a 10 place grid penalty in Monaco, he would have been pretty screwed.
Yeah. I mean, if you were leading, then I would just go for it. If I was Max and I was leading Hamilton by 10 points, and if I'm second, I would just send it. I don't care if he crashes or not. You come on, like Senna did that with what's his name, bro.
Okay, again, here's my question. It's the final race. Max is not going to be timid if it's the final deciding race of the season. He is going to be Max. He is definitely playing the long game. You can see his change in attitude. Who's going to win between Russell and Max?
Equal car.
As aggressive as you know Russell to be, as aggressive as you know Max to be.
I think Max is one of the best qualifiers. So I think it's Max. Max on quali is like unheard of, bro. Like that Saudi lap. If he hit that, the championship was done. Like he's 4 tons up on Hamilton, and
that Saudi lap was something.
Yeah,
dude. Even the Abu Dhabi.
His Abu Dhabi lap was crazy. Yeah,
and dude, it was in a slower car, objectively slower car.
He didn't even get the toe from Checo. Yeah, he went faster.
I think when Max gets the balance in his car, dude's
unstoppable. What I think is it's like emotional damage, bro. I feel like yours giving him that like trauma when he was a kid was the best thing, because this guy is unfazed,
bro.
this guy can like finish first on like a tricycle, bro. He's just but I feel like if I had a chance in the Formula 1 car, I would be as good as Latifi. If you give me I genuinely believe that if you give me a year on the simulation, like even the simulator, and just like I play around with the car for like have like 10 sessions, 30 minutes, I will beat that guy. No joke.
But how can you say that?
Because he's trash, bro.
But how can you say that when you don't have any idea what it's
Bro, honestly, I feel like I can beat his time if I had the wheel on the game. And I think I would be faster in the game if I had the wheel than he is.
But I think wheel is way easier than real life.
No, just give me some time to practice, bro. Because this guy is genuinely ass.
But again, if you're on the simulator, then you're not really practicing.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, give me 10 sessions in the car with the team and the engineers. But I don't think, first of all, I think he doesn't know how to communicate with his engineers.
Okay,
he's too rich. He's stupid. He doesn't know how to like make the tires work. He crashes in the fucking like chicane, not in the chicane, the slowest corner on the track, bro. Like in Monaco, like how does that happen? Like how do you just crash and then him crashing in Saudi, him crashing in like otherwise. How is he 2 seconds slower? Like, I feel like he genuinely is worse than Mazepin.
No.
I think he's genuinely worse than Mazepin.
Bro, Mazepin is really bad.
No. I genuinely think Latifi is washed. Latifi is completely gone. I think they should just like let him go.
This has been a real Latifi hate session.
Yeah. Man, fuck Latifi, bro. Yeah. Let's just end it on that, bro. Fuck Latifi. Yeah.
Fuck Latifi.
Yeah.
Okay. Good one.
Yeah. Oh, fuck, my leg is killing me.
This is an interesting one. What are the implications of Godel's theorem?
Oh, fuck. This is hard, man. Godel's theorem is one of like the weirdest things I've encountered.
Should we do it?
Yeah.
I think we should define it.
Do you want to go on, like, give me your best description of what Godel's theorem is?
Yes. Godel's theorem is basically an answer to a question posed by Hilbert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very famous guy. Hilbert posed a question on our system of mathematics, which was, is mathematics complete? Is mathematics consistent? And is mathematics decidable? Now, I'll define those things, but completeness to begin with is the property that everything that is true can be proven. Consistency is the property that any given statement is either true or false, but not both. And decidability is, given any mathematical problem, do I know that a solution to it exists or not? So decidability, for example, would be the halting problem. For example, if I give you any program, can a program determine whether the input when run on the program would actually halt or not? Mm-hmm. That problem is undecidable because no such problem exists. So that would be an example of undecidability. But Godel's theorem basically states that any mathematical system in which you can do basic arithmetic, so you can add things, you can subtract things, you can raise things to the power, any such system has to be either incomplete or inconsistent. In other words, you can either prove everything that's true, or you can either not prove everything that's true, or there is at least one statement that is either true or false.
No, the way that I encountered Godel's theorem, and the way that I understood it in my head was as a child I just assumed like maths has the power to like model everything in the universe, and there is why would there be a limit, right? Every theorem could be proven, every prime number conjecture, the Goldbach's conjecture, and Fermat's theorem. I didn't see why there should be a fundamental limit, or like why maths shouldn't be able to like prove all these statements. And the way that I understood Godel's theorem is either my axioms are inconsistent, so stuff like 2 + 2 = 4, right, which is basic, is so inherently the nature of maths that you don't even know how to prove it, right? Or like parallel lines don't intersect, Euclidean geometry, these are principles that you can't prove, and like how would you? And so either you have that these statements aren't consistent, maybe they contradict each other, or if that is the case, then you have a model of maths that is complete. Then maths can model everything only if your axioms are inconsistent, or you can have that your axioms are consistent, which is the case that we have right now, which is the more reasonable one, because you would assume why 2 + 2 = 4 is consistent with parallel lines never intersecting, but that leads to maths being incomplete. That maths, you can't prove every statement, so you have to choose between the two, which is Godel's theorem. You have to either choose your axioms to be consistent, and then that leads to maths not being complete, or you can choose maths to be complete but then your axioms are inconsistent.
I don't think it has to do with the axioms themselves, because the very foundation of Godel's theorem is that any formal mathematical system in which you can do basic arithmetic, that has to be either incomplete or inconsistent. But by definition, any mathematical system in which you can do basic arithmetic has to be built upon certain axioms. So I don't think Godel is saying that
it's the axioms that have to be inconsistent.
Yeah, the axioms don't have to be inconsistent. What he's saying is any given statement. So there is a language called logic that can remove any inconsistencies is the wrong word in this case, but it can basically formalize mathematics. You can represent almost any sentence formally through logic, right? So within that logical framework, either there is a logical statement that is either true and false at the same time. If that is the case, then that would mean inconsistency.
Okay.
Right. Two axioms, since axioms are modeled by humans themselves, like we have built those axioms, we have assumed parallel lines don't intersect or that you can draw a straight line between any 2 points. That is a human assumption. Those don't have to contradict each other. That is not what inconsistency is saying. What inconsistency is saying is that you can build anything from those axioms from math. But if you build a statement that is either true and false both, that would be inconsistency.
So you can have like the case where parallel lines don't intersect are true and false. That would be
yeah. Or you can also build up on it and you can come to really create, like maybe the Collat's conjecture is true and it's false. Right? It doesn't have to be limited to the axioms is what I'm saying. And incompleteness, you were right, that's basically what you said. If everything that is mathematically true can be proven.
You know, its implications are Godel's theory's implications are they're so far-reaching that it's hard to even start, because if maths isn't complete, which is the more reasonable assumption, because you would expect your statements to be either true or false. What does it even mean for them to be both at the same time? Then maths isn't the true actually. Maths is incomplete, yeah.
Yeah, that's what you would assume. But the crazy thing about that is that so when Godel said that math is either incomplete or inconsistent, that was like his first published paper. He then published another one that effectively said that any mathematical system that is consistent cannot prove its consistency. So even if our current framework of math were consistent, we can't know.
But that is the case right now, I guess.
Yeah. And we can never know. So if it is possible that math is inconsistent, then that would mean we're wrong about almost everything.
This puts light on what maths really is, because there's some, the axioms are just truths about maths that we just assume.
Yeah.
And so you build up maths from these things that they must be true, and you can't prove them, which is kind of disturbing, because maths isn't complete in that aspect as well, because it's like a belief system. It's like believing in God. You just assume some things to be true, and then you build up on those things being true, which is the same as like, oh, I believe God to exist, and then I come to other conclusions. But then I can't prove if God exists or doesn't. It's beyond my capabilities.
Yeah, exactly. And so we can consider both sides of the coin. Like, firstly, if it's inconsistent, which we don't believe it to be, but if it is, then that everything breaks apart. We really know nothing about the universe in that case, because everything has been founded on math. And if true equals false, then everything equals everything. If it's incomplete, then that is also, what that is telling you is that our understanding of truth comes from the fact that we can derive it from something, right? That we can, the reason I know 1 + 1 is 2 because it's actually proven. You can use, there's in a book, it's like hundreds of pages of proof of just 1 + 1 = 2. Anything else is a conjecture or a hypothesis, which means inherently there are things we may never know to be true about the universe, because the only way we can know them to be true is if we can prove them. But we can't prove everything that's true.
This is the implication of Godel's theorem in like a physical theory such as like physics would imply that you can never in principle know the universe everything about the universe. Because you could have like a mathematical problem in physics that is either true and false at the same time. But it's actually surprising. You can have superposition. Like, I feel like the idea of superposition is so inherently the nature of the universe that two things, a thing can exist in two states in a matter in one time.
Is it existing in two states, or is it existing? Okay, let me put it this way: is it existing in those two states with certainty or with a certain probability?
Till you are only certain after you measure it.
So when it's in the state of superposition, at that point it's living in a probabilistic space, right?
Yeah.
But that is different to saying that it is true and false.
Yeah.
It is okay. I can say that the cat in the box is dead with 50% probability and alive with 50% probability. Was this saying the cat is dead and alive?
Yeah, it's the same thing again. I bring this example all the time. It's like, is the moon there if you don't look at it, right?
Yeah.
You would assume it to be true all the time without even measuring, which maybe is the case. It would be surprising if it isn't the case. Surely it is the case. It can't be otherwise.
There was some video I was watching about this. I think I sent it to you. That video about if we're using physics as a model of the universe, but maybe we should instead be using it as a model of our information about the universe. In that video, I think it was Einstein who posed the question that is the moon still there when you're not looking?
Yeah.
And I think an answer from one of the people who supported information theory as a model for the universe was that you can't prove that it is. Which again comes back to completeness, right? Because even if that is the case, you may never be able to prove it.
Yeah.
So you'll never know.
Well, there's some truths that you just can't.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. This is it's kind of like disturbing almost, that or just how it makes you humble, like.
And it kind of takes you away from the notion that math is one exact, all truth-telling thing.
Yeah, it's the human understanding of the universe is how we perceive it, and we can't ever truly know what the universe is.
Which even more metaphorically tells you that what do we really know about the universe?
Yeah.
Since we know everything from our very limited perception of it.
Yeah.
Which could even be entirely wrong. Our foundations could be entirely wrong.
But is the reason we believe, or we thought it was the case that maths was representing the universe exactly, because of the tremendous power, and your belief in the system is validated every time you use it, and it leads to true things. And the fact that you can create so many things out of biology, physics, and maths is. It must be true in that aspect, and we must have some understanding of the universe that we can use it. And
do you think, this is not exactly on this topic, but do you think math is based on the realities of our universe? Or do you think 1 + 1 will be 2 even if there was a parallel universe?
This is actually very interesting. It could be the case that so there's some things that like describe a universe, like you have all the forces as well as we know, and they have some certain strengths, right? And you can describe those strengths in like in units. For example, the force of the gravity, the strength of gravity can be described by the gravitational constant, or for electromagnetism you have that as well. And so every single force tends to have like this specific number, which is a real number as far as we know, and it could be the case that you could have infinite parallel universe with like that like number just tweaked aside, and then it would lead to everything being different, because let's say the speed of light was slightly less and everything else was the same, and then you don't even know what that would lead to. What kind of like combinations that would give rise. You could have, it's almost like the Marvel movies, bro. Like it could lead to anything.
So I guess, okay, so since those constants that we have we have come up with, really. We have measured or we have experimented with, and therefore come up with them, are a model for our universe, and the math we do from them is based on math that we think models the universe the best, right?
Yeah.
But do you think math is a model for the universe, or do you think it is it can extend across universes, or maybe what we know to be true in our universe? Because
or are there like some axioms that have to be true in every universe?
Yeah, because the way I am thinking about it is those axioms are constructed by us. We are a part of this universe, right? So we can't even
imagine what it's like. It's like describing higher dimensions.
Yeah.
You have no idea. But it's one of the things I want to try. The DALI 2 program. Yeah. So I want to put like higher dimensions, and I want to see what the computer thinks. But
you would see what the computer thinks that is based on its projection in 2D.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But the computer has learned from the human set of data, and then it'll like give an idea of what it thinks higher dimensions is. And I think hopefully the computer can like find a sort of pattern in our representation of high dimensions, and it just figures out this one link that is like so consistent between everything, and maybe that like sheds light on like stuff like higher dimensions or things that we truly don't understand.
The thing about that is that programs like DALI 2, they're doing something that even though humans have built that neural network, it may be such a complicated network, such a complicated function that the neural network is outputting, that the human brain, while making the little pieces of the neural network, may not be able to even grasp the entire neural network in its entirety, which means the neural network could actually process things in a way that humans never could.
Yeah.
Which could have some, in that case, how would it even communicate those to us?
Yeah, communication isn't exact, and you lose our information, but the beauty about computers is that fundamentally what they're doing is so basic. Machine learning is just like weighting certain paths more than the others and like optimizing a certain aspect, and in principle humans could do that with like a bigger head.
But with the size of the heads that we do have, and given that again the point is that we have constructed each individual unit in the neural network, but we have not manually assigned the weights to it, right? We have put in a training program that figures out what the best weights are according to optimization and stuff like that. And maybe the human brain can't even comprehend all those weights at one time, right? But the neural network is in fact one unit in itself that is doing all that computation. So it's just interesting the kind of things that can come up with. Same with even when you talk about something like natural language processing, that again is trying to learn what humans are communicating, not just that there's a dog and there's a cat, but what is the relationship between the dog and cat. When I say love is riding a bicycle, what is the relationship between that? Maybe computers could understand the universe better than we can.
It's again like computers playing Go or chess, and they come up with moves that grandmasters have never encountered. So they must be like computationally figuring out a truer nature of the game itself, like because of their ability to compute and like process. They just like uncover so many like different truths that we don't even know.
I think this has like very important, not important, but very interesting implications to like the Godel thing we were discussing, because there was, as I mentioned, there was a video about how even quantum mechanics can maybe be represented by bits, by yes or no questions. That was the information theoretical point of view, where instead of things being even in superposition could be represented by one bit, which gives you yes or no knowledge on certain things. And instead of considering whatever we do already consider in physics to be the unit that we build upon. That may be any quark or any electron or any of those things. Instead, if we consider bits as units of
building stuff up,
yeah.
And what is the most fundamental bit of information?
Yeah, that is one. But so the argument in what I was watching was that we can represent all of quantum mechanics. We can even explain concepts like entanglement if we assume the bit to be a single unit of the universe. Because so the fundamental argument was that we are, with physics and with math, we are not modeling the universe. We are modeling our information about the universe. And so the idea was, if we can't really model the universe and all we can best hope for is modeling our information, then the bits we use can best represent the knowledge we already have about physics. If you use bits, it completely is consistent with quantum mechanics. It's completely consistent with what you would expect, and it even explains certain things better than what we already consider. And if that is actually true, and if this entire hypothesis about information theory being a very good model for the universe, then neural networks could, in theory, understand way more about the universe.
Yeah.
Because they are effectively doing everything in bits.
Yeah, and that's true. And I feel like looking at stuff in the information way is a more accurate level of abstraction that you can get more information out of the universe, right? And I think some researchers, they put AI programs to find out on physical problems, like physics problems, and to find out new symmetries or new ways of doing stuff, which the human brain is incapable, because maybe it's computation, or I think it's mainly computation. Yeah.
So that means that maybe our mathematics that we have used to make a neural network is using the best possible tool, which is information theory, and to extract information out of the universe. Maybe it could that could maybe be an extension of what we're talking about, right? In terms of Godel's theorem, that not everything that is true can be proven. But that is because our mathematics is maybe not modeling the universe the way it should model it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you do it in terms of bits, in terms of whatever the computer is doing with information theory in hand, maybe it could model or understand information in a way. Because again, it comes back to us knowing things are true can only depend on us being able to prove them. But if you're working with the fundamental units of the universe, then you can automatically come up with truths that we could never think of.
Exactly. Yeah, this is the idea of measurement, right? If you if I were to measure your health, right, I would have to be invasive, and I would change the state of your body. But if I use something that is so fundamental and so less invasive, and that's what information theory is or explain the universe in bits is such a simple question, is yes or no. And I guess humans are somewhere higher in the level of abstraction than just bits is ones and zeros, and it's running a computer code. If you could understand C, if you could understand assembly, you could maybe understand more about how the computer works than your level of abstraction. But it's just our inability to work in that. Yeah, that was actually an interesting topic.
Yeah. Again, that just brings what all implications the thought process you could have just based on one little statement.
I don't know how Godel came up with this. It's crazy.
Aside from implications, do you actually know how this was proved?
No.
It's actually insane. So this, I saw it in a video. I think it was Vsauce or Veritasium or one of these channels. But basically, every symbol we have in math. So first of all, he was working in a system where he assumed there are no negative numbers, and he assigned every symbol in math a number. This was known as the symbol's Godel number. So I don't know, maybe plus would have the Godel number 1, minus would have the Godel number 2, multiplication would have the Godel number 3. The symbol 0 could have the Godel number whatever. And then how you would represent numbers, 0 was the only number he gave a Godel number to. And then how you would have 1 is that he made a separate operator called the S, which was the successor operator. And so
Measure 0 goes to the next one.
Goes to 1.
Yeah.
So SS0 would be 2, SSS0
That's
would
how
be
computers
3.
work, yeah.
And the idea was that then any mathematical statement you could also express in terms of Gödel number, and how you would do that is, for example, let's say you want to express 0 equals 0 in Gödel number. You would take primes starting at 2 and raise them to the Gödel number of that particular value. So like 0 equals 0 would be 2 to the Gödel number of 0 times 3 to the Gödel number of equals to, because every symbol is given a Gödel number as well.
Okay.
Times 5 to the Gödel number of 0 again. And that, because it's primes, it would always give you a unique value. It would be a massive number.
Okay.
But it would give you a unique Gödel number for the expression 0 equals 0. Okay. And because these numbers got so big, you could like represent those massive numbers by alphabets. So maybe a number in the trillions you would represent by A.
It's level of abstraction.
Yeah. And so the way he proved that math is either incomplete or inconsistent is that there was a Gödel number G that represented G cannot be proven.
Yeah.
Self-reference again. So what it says is, so if you prove G, you've managed to basically, if you've proved G, then you've proven that G can't be proven.
Yeah.
Right? And if you can't prove G, then that's incompleteness, because it's something that may be true but you can't prove it.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's how he proved incompleteness. I mean, his theorem of incompleteness.
Yeah, I think Godel's theorem just goes hand in hand with the Turing machine, the idea of like a Turing machine, and it becomes so obvious when you see it that way. Right? Yeah. Fuck Godel.
Dude's a genius, man.
Yeah. Wasn't he the one that like thought someone was gonna poison him, so he like didn't have food?
Was that him?
Yeah, I think
was
that was
like
him.
Nikola Tesla or something?
No. I think Godel was scared of someone poisoning him, and so he just refused to eat.
Jesus.
And then he just died. It's a surprise to pay if you're that. No, not even, man. It's just different. It's just some sort of mania, I guess.
Why are usually like genius people? They always have something off about them.
Everyone has it, It's not that just geniuses have that. I think this is the wrong way of looking at it. It's more apparent because they have like a spotlight on them. There's some things that I do are just completely like unexplainable, and so
That's
do you.
true.
Yeah. It's not that they're smart and then they have some crazy shit. Like, I've seen some stupid people that also have it. So it's correlation and causation.
Yeah, perhaps.
Well, anyway, I don't want to talk about it. Fuck it.
Okay.